and welcome to another Bible review here on Scott's Bible Reviews. And this time we're going to be looking at yet another facsimile edition of the King James Bible. This time, the 1769 Oxford Standardized Revision of the 1611 King James Bible Facsimile reproduction. So let's take a look at it. We're not going to be unboxing it because I've had this unboxed, taken out of the box for a while now, but it is brand new. So let's take a look at this rather large and fantastic Bible. Okay, so here it is. This is the 1769 Oxford Standardized Revision of the 1611. So this one is put out by, once again, great site, and it is quite large. So we're going to measure it, and we're going to take a look at this magnificent Bible. Let's look at the front. See, it says 500th anniversary of the Reformation, 1517 to 2017, Family Bible. My conscience is my guide. Scripture is my only authority. Here I stand. God help me. Martin Luther. It's inscribed on the front. Okay, so we have a length of 15 inches. Very large Bible. You can see it compared to my hand here. We have a width of nearly 10 inches. And we have a thickness of a little over 3 inches. Very large Bible. This is actually bigger than the King James 1611 facsimile that I reviewed a few videos ago. And let's take a look at the spine. Raised hubs, Holy Bible, corrected by Dr. Benjamin Blayney. This is also known as the Blayney edition, by the way. First edition, Revised Standard Oxford Edition, King James 1769. And by the way, on the back, rescued from the ashes. And let's go through this and take a look at this fantastic edition. Remember these a few words about the 1769. It was Dr. Benjamin Blayney who completed this revision of the King James Bible and used Dr. Samuel Johnson's first edition, 1755 printing of the Johnson Dictionary, the English language coming of age. And this one is, of course, more of a modern, relatively speaking, modern typeset, and corrected the printing errors. And when Dr. Blayney finished this work, he had corrected more than 20,000 spelling and pronunciation mistakes, basically. And it's quite fascinating. You can read more about the history of the 1769 on greatsite.com. But it's very important work, because ever since 1769, the KJVs that we have are based on this. So when you open up the Bible initially, you see this paste down liner, which is quite beautiful. It has an old Bible sense to it. We see that. Old Bible flair. And there's the thick first page. Presentation page, King James 1769. And this is the Holy Bible and the basically that page that shows Oxford, printed by T. Wright and W. Gill, printers to the university. Cum privilegio. Cum privilegio. So let's zoom in a little bit and see some of what we have here. We have the reprinting of the Translators of the Bible to the reader. So they did that, and as you can see, more of a modern typeset. Modern relatively, modern in 1769, which the English Bible became, the English language became, the typeset and whatnot became more standardized around that time. And here we are, Translators to the Reader, continued. Oh, that was the epistle dedicatory, actually, I'm sorry. Translators to the Reader was here. It's early. And let's zoom out and see this in more. It's a true facsimile of the 1769 edition. And there's the graphic of the crown. Genealogies of Holy Scriptures. These look like these are right out of the 1611. Well, I have to compare them, but they look the same as the graphic genealogies in the actual 1611. I don't think this was redone. I think it was just facsimilated. It includes it all. Table of Canaan. That looks like the 1611 original facsimile graphics. The Table of Canaan continued there. So let's look at Genesis 1. Let's zoom in a bit so you can see the typeset. By the way, this paper is nice and thick. And it's the thickness that you'd expect from this size Bible. It's huge, and it would be a great coffee table Bible. Just a great conversational piece, if nothing else. Genesis, you see how in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. You see how the typeset is, and the earth was without form and void. And there's the italics. And so column references on the left and the right. And this is, by the way, was the format for the King James for a long time. And it still is largely like this. Now, here's one where the S is the F. Okay, so obviously that has been revised since to exclude the F and have the S like that we use today. But the Roman typeset has been eliminated, obviously, in this edition. And here's another F and the S. Genesis 4. Keeper of sheep. See, F-H-E-E-P. So the language had not evolved exactly to where it is today, but it has really moved along, and that's why the revision was necessary. And it took a lot of the typographical errors. As I said, there were thousands. In fact, 20,000 spelling and punctuation mistakes, such as using modern spellings like city rather than city, C-I-T-I-E. It's just similar to what I pointed out. And Blayney also initiated more than 400 corrections of wording. So we can take a look at, I want to point out some things here, because it does include headings. The headings are at the top of the page, similar to in the 1611 facsimile. See? Elisha. And Elijah, I should say. Again, those changes had not yet been made in the English language, so it simply reflects the English language updated to that time. But we basically have the 1769, and when we open a King James version today, we basically have this. Basically. I mean, the chapter headings may not be there like this, and a lot of some other things that will be different, and of course the pronunciation, the wording, the spellings. So Blayney corrected those spellings in this version, and this became the standard for, until today. We have basically a 1769 with some minor differences. Okay, so now on this, the Apocrypha is located between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And that was included here. See, Esdras. I don't know the GSM of this paper, by the way, and some of you might be wondering that, but it is nice and thick. It is like a book paper, paper that you would expect, as I said, in a large book such as this, a large Bible such as this. Then we go into the New Testament, Romans, the Jews' prerogative, the corruption of the Gentiles. So the subject headings are at the top, just as the 1611. So really a very nice piece of history and an updating of the King James Bible, the original 1611. And again, that update did not change anything except those corrections of spelling and form, not anything about the text itself. That's important. So it's important to realize that we're looking at spelling and punctuation and not form, not the way the words flowed or, for instance, in 1611 to 1768, the King James Bible had one lamb without blemish. 1769 to the present day, King James Bibles have one ram without blemish. Now let's look at that. Let's look at in Numbers. Well, maybe we should skip that. I just wanted to. Well, we're here, so we're in Numbers chapter 6, verses 14. Again, Roman numerals for the chapters. Still, they use Roman numerals then for the chapters. Numbers 6:14. And he shall, and is the F, offer his offering unto the Lord one he lamb of the first year without blemish. See? Lamb. And why wouldn't that say? The description says that it says ram. No, we've got to get to the bottom of it. It says lamb here. So I guess that was before. One ram without blemish. There it is. I was looking in the wrong place. One ram without blemish for peace offerings. So that was the correction. Corrections of wording. What Blayney did. So the Roman typeface is definitely a big plus and a big change. So let's go into the back. There's an index. And we see see what this is doing here. The ages. Is the index. It shows the ages, the various ages of the Old Testament and the empires, and it's interesting. I'd have to look into that further. So that's not something that we really have today so much. That indexes are different, and there's tables of weights and measures. And then a table of kindred and affinity. In other words, who a man can marry and who a woman may not marry. In the end. And then this last fly page, I call it a fly page. Very thick, again, just like in the front, and the same design in the back as the front. And then the back, and as I said, rescued from the ashes. So that is the 1769 Blayney facsimile of the King James with the corrections that I've indicated. There's a couple of more areas in Scripture that are examples of corrections. Ezekiel 24:7, poured it not upon the ground, rather than poured it upon the ground in the 1611. And John 15:20, in the 1611, it said, the servant is not greater than the Lord. In 1769 to 2020, it said, the servant is not greater than his Lord. So some changes amongst the spelling and punctuation mistakes. And of course the typeset, much easier for even the modern reader like us today to read, even with the F and the S issue that are still there, are easily overcomable. So basically like I said, the modern King James Bibles today from 1769 up are based on this. And it really remains unchanged, essentially, from this edition. There were some minor changes, of course, but this was the big one in the lineage of the King James Bible. Okay, so that will cover that. The King James Facsimile, 1769 by Blayney. Okay, well, thank you for joining me for this very interesting, huge Bible, this facsimile. It can be obtained on eBay for really a reasonable price. I think it's about $80 or $90, so it's really not out of reach for most people. And it's quite an addition to the library. It is huge. I think that this Bible, it doesn't give the weight, but it's quite heavy, and it's not something that you'll want to carry around. It's really quite a keepsake and quite a conversational piece and a testimony to the lineage of the King James Bible. So thank you for joining me once again. Please like, share, and subscribe to others so that we can get the channel moving in the right direction. And we appreciate you all. God bless you. And we'll see you next time.